I remember every detail of that freezing October evening on the Alder River, its surface like black glass under the first flickers of streetlights. My daughter Phoebe's small hand fit perfectly in mine as we strolled the riverside path after her therapy session at Ravenport Children's Hospital. She was 7, with those wild, dark curls that always reminded me of her mom, and she hummed a little tune she'd picked up that day. "Dad, can we feed the ducks next time?" she asked, eyes bright. "Sure, sweetheart, we'll bring bread," I replied, squeezing her fingers. Then the scream tore through the air like shattering ice. My head whipped around. 50 yards ahead, a woman in sharp business clothes slipped on the slick embankment, arms flailing wildly. Before I could shout, she hit the water with a sickening splash. "Stay here," I told Phoebe, guiding her to a bench. "Don't move." My boots hammered the path. I kicked off my jacket and dove in without a second thought. That river in October? It was a brutal fist around my chest, mountain runoff, turning every stroke into a fight for survival. I broke the surface, gasping, scanning the darkness. There, a pale hand clawing at the air 20 feet downstream. 3 desperate strokes and I grabbed fabric, then her wrist. She thrashed in blind panic, elbow cracking my jaw hard enough to spark stars. "Stop fighting," I choked out. "I've got you." Maybe she heard me through the terror. Maybe exhaustion finally won. Her body went limp, and I hooked an arm across her chest, kicking hard for the bank. The current fought us every inch, but I knew this river like my own heartbeat, where the eddies softened, where the rocks gave me something to grip. Fingers found stone, then mud, then grass. I hauled us both onto solid ground and collapsed beside her, lungs burning. She wasn't breathing. Training took over. I rolled her onto her side, struck between her shoulder blades. Water poured out. "Come on," I urged, steadying her. "Breathe for me." A rattling gasp finally came, followed by violent coughing as she emptied the river onto the grass. Rain started then. Light at first, then driving down. She pushed up on her knees, dark hair plastered to her face. In the weak street lamp glow, I saw the expensive clothes ruined by mud, jewelry glinting at her throat. Her eyes met mine, full of shock and something rawer, a fear that had nothing to do with drowning. "You?" Her voice cracked. "You needed help," I said simply. "No." She shook her head, trembling. "People don't, when they see—" She was slipping into shock. I stripped off my soaked flannel, draping it over her shoulders. "We need to get you warm. Hospital's close." "No hospital," she whispered, frantic. "No questions, I can't." "You almost died," I pressed. "I know." Her laugh was broken. I need to ask you something." I glanced back at Phoebe on the bench, small hands clutching the wood, eyes wide with fear. This stranger needed help, but something in her face stopped me cold. "What?" I asked. She held my gaze, rain dripping from her chin. "Would you stay if I undressed everything?" The question hit me like another wave. "I don't mean the clothes," she added quickly, gesturing at her soaked suit. "I mean the things I don't show anyone. Would you stay if you saw who I really am?" It wasn't seduction. It was raw, desperate honesty. The same tone I'd heard in my own voice 2 years earlier at my wife's grave, wondering if anyone could stay once they saw how shattered I was. "I'm Everett," I said quietly. "That's my daughter Phoebe. Right now, you need to get warm before hypothermia wins. After that, you can ask me anything." Her penthouse took up the top 3 floors of Ravenport's tallest building. The doorman recognized her instantly despite the mud, and the private elevator opened straight into a world of hardwood floors and floor-to-ceiling windows that screamed money I'd never touched. "I'm fine now," she insisted, though her hand still shook on the button. "You're not," I replied. We sat at her kitchen island later, warm mugs in our hands, her wet hair wrapped in a towel. Without the power suit, she looked younger, vulnerable. "You asked me a question," I said finally. "I did." She set her mug down. "Would you stay if I told you?" I thought of Phoebe waking from nightmares about her mom, of the counselor visits, of loving my little girl so fiercely it terrified me. "Yeah," I answered. "I would." She stood, walked to the window, and with slow, deliberate hands lifted the hem of her sweater. The scars ran up her left side from hip to shoulder, old burns, fire-forged, permanent. She let the sweater fall and turned to face me, chin high. "How old were you?" I asked gently. 7. House fire. My parents got my brother out first. By the time my father came back, the staircase was gone. Her voice stayed steady, but I saw the weight she carried. "People see them and they change," she continued. "They look away. They treat me like I'm fragile or damaged." "I wouldn't," I said. "You say that now." I looked at my hands. My wife died 2 years ago. Aneurysm. Phoebe found her. I know what it's like to be afraid everyone will leave when they see the truth. Before she could answer, my phone exploded with Mrs. Chen's number from down the hall. My stomach dropped. "Everett, honey, don't panic," she said. "But Phoebe's running a fever. It came on fast. She's asking for you." The world tilted. I was already moving. "I have to go," I told her. "Go," she said softly. "Go to your daughter." The elevator doors closed on her face. I didn't look back. At Ravenport Children's Hospital, I held Phoebe's tiny hand while doctors ran tests, voices low about white cell counts and possible complications. Her immune system had always been fragile. The fever climbed higher. At one point, delirious in the dead of night, she cried out for her mom. I held her and whispered promises I prayed I could keep, trying not to shatter in front of her. Then, just after dawn, the door opened. There she stood, Vivian, in jeans and a simple sweater, clothes I'd never seen her wear in public. She'd found us somehow. Phoebe's eyes fluttered open. "Are you an angel?" my daughter whispered with that strange clarity sick kids sometimes have. I froze. Vivian looked ready to bolt. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. I needed to know she was okay." "Wait," I said, standing. "You came." We stepped into the hallway. Exhaustion carved lines into my face as I leaned against the wall. "High fever, possible infection. They're fighting it." "What can I do?" she asked. "Nothing," I admitted. "There's nothing anyone can do." She understood that helplessness. I saw it in her eyes. "I'm sorry I left so fast," I said. "You trusted me with something huge, and Your daughter needed you," she cut in, voice firm. "That's not abandonment. That's being the kind of father every kid deserves." We sat on those hard plastic chairs as the hospital woke around us. "The truth is," she said quietly, "I was hurt when you left. Not because of Phoebe, of course you went. But I've spent my whole life being second to everything else. Just once. I wanted to be someone's first choice." I turned to her. "You are." Before she could doubt me, the doctor appeared. "Good news. The fever broke. She's going to be fine." Relief crashed over me so hard my shoulders shook. Vivian didn't hesitate. She pulled out her phone and told the doctor to bill everything to Hale Dynamics, medical coverage for family members of consultants. Retroactive. "I'm not your employee," I protested. "You saved my life," she said simply. "Let me do this. We're even." I laughed then. Exhausted, real, genuine. I have no idea how this works anymore. Later, when Phoebe woke fully, demanding pancakes, Vivian disappeared to the cafeteria and returned with the real kind. Syrup, orange juice, everything. "You're the river lady," Phoebe said between bites. "Dad said you fell in." "I did. Your dad saved me." "He's good at that," Phoebe said matter-of-factly. Then she looked straight at Vivian and added something that stopped my heart. "But sometimes, even heroes need someone to save them back. Right?" Vivian glanced at me, eyes shining. "Your dad was right," she told Phoebe gently. "We're going to be okay together." After Phoebe drifted off again, we took coffee to the family lounge as dawn painted the sky. She told me about the fire. I told her about losing my wife. The words spilled out like we'd been waiting years to say them. For weeks after, we built something careful and beautiful. Dinners twice a week. Phoebe demanding Vivian read the Brave Mouse book 3 times in a row. Laughter in my tiny kitchen that finally felt like home. Then the article hit, exposing every scar, every secret she'd guarded. Photos, speculation, cruel messages. She shut down, didn't answer my calls. That night I showed up at her door with Phoebe's hand in mine. She opened it despite everything. "I'm fine," she said before I could speak. "Yes, I did," I answered. "We both did." Phoebe looked up at her. "Dad said people were being mean. That's not fair. You're really nice." Vivian knelt. "Sometimes people fear what they don't understand." "Are you scared?" Phoebe asked. "Yes," Vivian admitted, voice breaking. "I'm scared everyone will see me differently now." Phoebe pushed up her own sleeve, showing a tiny toaster burn. "Scars mean we survived something hard. Dad says they're warrior marks." I stepped closer. "You don't have to hide anymore. Stand in it with us." At the emergency board meeting, she walked in wearing a sleeveless dress, scars visible on purpose. The room went silent. She faced them all head on. "My childhood trauma is mine," she said, voice steady as steel. "It doesn't affect my ability to lead. And if any of you think survivors should be ashamed, now's the time to speak." Silence. Then one board member stood. "We've seen what we needed. Vivian remains the best CEO this company has ever had." Later, the rival who'd leaked it all tried one last jab. "You can't fire me," he sneered. "Watch me," she replied, voice ice cold. Security escorted him out that same hour. I waited in the lobby with Phoebe doing homework on the couch. When Vivian finally stepped out, exhausted but unbroken, Phoebe looked up and asked the question that sealed everything. "Does this mean we can still have movie night as a family?" Vivian smiled through tears. "Yeah, we can still have movie night." 3 months later, we took a weekend trip to Pine Hollow, where the Alder River begins as a gentle stream. At the town pool, Vivian hesitated in her swimsuit, scars on full display. Phoebe grabbed her hand. "Race you to the shallow end." They jumped in together. The water was just water. Laughter echoed, and for the first time in 15 years, Vivian swam free. That evening on the cabin porch, stars blazing overhead, I pulled out the small box. Inside was a simple silver ring with 3 birthstones. Phoebe's, mine, and hers. "I'm not asking you to replace anyone," I said, voice thick, "but I'm asking if you'll be our family anyway, if you'll be mine." I met her eyes. "The first time I saw you, you asked if I'd stay when I saw everything. The answer is yes. I see you, Vivian, all of you, and I'm asking you to stay too." She slipped the ring on, voice barely a whisper. "I'm scared, but I'm staying. Whatever comes, I'm staying." We married 2 months later by the Alder River, right where I'd pulled her from the water. Phoebe was flower girl and ring bearer in one, taking the job very seriously. Vivian wore a sleeveless dress. When the officiant pronounced us married, no one looked at her scars. They looked at her joy, at the family we'd chosen. That night in our new house with the river view, I found her at the bedroom window. "Regrets?" I asked, wrapping my arms around her. She leaned back into me. "The opposite. Gratitude, peace, belonging. I'm counting them all." She turned, eyes shining. "You asked if I'd stay if you saw all of me. I need you to know I'm staying. I'm home." From the next room came Phoebe's sleepy voice. "Dad? Vivian? Can I sleep in your room? I had a bad dream." We pulled her into our bed, imperfect, scarred, and completely whole. A family not born from perfection, but from the courage to let ourselves be fully seen, and to stay anyway. Outside, the Alder River flowed on, dark and endless. Inside, there was warmth, light, and 3 hearts that had finally learned the bravest thing anyone can do is stay. I'll never forget the night I pulled Vivian from that icy river, her body limp in my arms as the current tried to claim us both. What started as one desperate rescue became the moment that taught me life's most profound truth. The bravest thing any of us can do is let ourselves be fully seen, scars and all, and choose to stay anyway. After losing my wife and raising Phoebe alone, I thought I understood brokenness. But nothing prepared me for the raw moment in Vivian's penthouse when she lifted her sweater with trembling hands and whispered, "Would you stay if I undressed everything? If you saw who I really am?" Her fire-forged scars ran like rivers up her side, silent witnesses to a childhood inferno that would have destroyed most people. Yet in that trembling silence, I discovered something that still shakes me to my core. Real love isn't born in perfection or polished armor. It's forged in the terrifying choice to stop hiding and let someone witness your deepest wounds without turning away. My daughter Phoebe captured it best in her innocent wisdom. "Dad says scars mean we survived something hard. They're warrior marks." Those words hit me like lightning. They reminded me that healing isn't about erasing pain. It's about finding someone courageous enough to look at our broken places and still say, "I'm staying." Together, Vivian, Phoebe, and I didn't just survive our scars. We built a family on the radical decision to stop running and start staying. Through fear, through judgment, through every storm. If this story moved you the way it still moves me, tell me in the comments right now. What scar are you finally ready to stop hiding? And if you crave more powerful tales of love, healing, and second chances that touch the soul, smash that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join our growing family. Let's create a space where staying becomes our greatest strength. I'll see you in the next story, friend.